Good morning, YouTube. My name is Yusuf, and you are watching my news channel. Yesterday, a massive earthquake happened in 8.1 in the Kermadec Island region, and I will come to this back in a moment. But let's take a look at space weather conditions. Interestingly enough, space weather conditions are absolutely normal. Looking at the BZ component, it's hovering around neutral values. Density-wise, everything looks steady. No sudden increases, no drops either. The speed decreases, as we can expect, as we are exiting that solar wind stream, which came from a corona hole. And the temperature shows the same trend. It is decreasing gradually as we come into a more stable condition. Looking at the KP index, this is actually interesting because when I looked at it, I thought I might see a KP5 or something like that. But interestingly enough, when the earthquake happens, we don't see a geomagnetic storm at all. There was a brief uptick to a KP4, but it subsided when the earthquake actually happens. The earthquake happens over here. It was at 20 UTC, so we had a KP2. So that's a very low value. There was, however, of course, a few days ago that geomagnetic storm, KP5, and this particular event, which produced, I believe, a G2 storm. It briefly went to KP6. You can actually see this in my video. Sorry. In my video, when I covered actually an extreme event that happened on the 1st of March. So whether it is this event when the magnetosphere deformed and the Van Allen belt briefly collapsed, whether this is the cause or this G1 is debatable. Personally, I believe it's this particular event because I knew something would happen after. It was so extreme that I was actually surprised to see that at the moment of speaking, nothing happened. But this might just be a delayed effect, and currents might have been induced when this happened. This is an absolutely extreme event, and I strongly suggest you actually take a look at it. I will leave a link below to this particular video, so you don't have to scroll down and search for it. But actually, you can find it easily on my channel because everything is on the. You can find it under the space weather playlist, and it's actually a recent one, the 1st of March. So you wouldn't have much trouble finding it. But I will leave a link anyway to make it easier for you in the description box. So it is debatable whether it is that KP5 or that KP6 from the 1st March that actually caused this earthquake. Looking further, we see the Schumann resonance showing a slight uptick, nothing really meaningful, but clearly it's there from that solar wind stream, from that corona hole a few days ago. We see no major space weather events when the earthquake happened. So this is again proof maybe that it is related to that extreme event, the 1st March, rather than the ongoing space weather effects. So, but let's go at the earthquake itself. This is more importantly. It happened, of course, around the Kermadec Islands, as I mentioned it previously. There have been 2 foreshocks, 7.3, 7.4, and then, of course, the big earthquake, which happened at 19 kilometers of depth at 20 UTC. I want to issue a warning for New Zealand, and I will say why. Because there is a region which is known to be at risk. If we look at the actual fault line, and this is clearly visible over here, we see that the fault line has a curve. And this curve is in this particular region. So this region is most at risk for damage when an earthquake happens, because this movement, as you can see, goes downwards, but then of course it meets the curve. So this particular movement that happened from these 2 big earthquakes might have a spillover effect over here. Might. not necessarily, it won't necessarily happen, but the risk exists. And I think it would be wise for people living around Christchurch and Wellington, so over here and over here, to have earthquake plans. Don't panic. There is no reason for panic, but I would definitely recommend that you check your preparations to see if you have everything, enough food, enough water, that you check if you have a generator in case of a blackout when the earthquake happens. See if you have medical supplies. See if you have enough communication at your disposal. And by that I mean not relying on the grid systems. So prepare yourselves. It's better to be prepared than to be sorry. There is definitely a risk of an earthquake happening, even if it were just a minor, or for example a 6 magnitude or a 7 magnitude. Well, 7 is not minor, but even if it's lesser than these particular earthquakes, it could still happen. So it's better to be prepared than to be sorry. Okay, let's move on. Oh yes, I will leave a link below to the buoy, I don't know if I say this correctly, to the buoy center, which are actually in event mode. So a tsunami warning has been issued, nothing major, as you can see, 0.3 to 1 meters. So those aren't really big waves, and I checked already. The deviations are quite small, to be honest. But nonetheless, the warning has been issued, and some of them are already in event mode. So if you want to check this, I will leave a link below. You can check the wave heights and such. So let's move on. Next, I wanted to show the polar vortex because it's actually, it hovers more around Siberia, and this is not really a good sign. It should be above the Arctic. Whether this will send the Arctic oscillation into a negative phase or cause easterlies to be more prevalent over Europe remains to be seen. But this will definitely have an effect. The polar vortex over here will affect the weather, because if we look at it from another perspective, we see that its effect, I mean, it's almost hovering above the mid-latitudes in this particular region, so this is not a good thing. It is a good thing for the United States, who will probably not see major intrusions of the jet stream, so of that cold Arctic air. It will be blocked off since the polar vortex is well defined over here. But we'll see how this develops further. When we look at the Arctic oscillation, we see it briefly go into a negative phase. This is bad, but it could just be a minor dip, a minor bump, change, at least in direction. Sometimes this happens. For example, it can go briefly negative, then positive again, or the other way around, briefly positive while being in a negative phase, then it goes negative again, and etc, etc. So, but I think this will again go positive, because if we look actually, let me show this to you. Stratospheric diagnostics, that's not it. There it is, climate prediction. If we look actually at the geopotential height, we see it in the blue, and this means that the likelihood of a positive Arctic oscillation, when it is blue, it is usually associated to positive Arctic oscillation. Red means a negative. So yeah, actually I see a little bit over here. This explains why we briefly had a negative, a little bit of yellow, I'm not sure, but we'll see. I think unless a sudden stratospheric warming happens again, that this will go positive. So let's hope so. So to summarize this video, but before I do so, Don't forget to hit the like button if you actually enjoyed the video, and most of all subscribe to my channel so you won't miss any of my future videos. I would say the most important event, of course, is the earthquake for today that happened yesterday, and the warning that I'm issuing for New Zealand. Be prepared. This might not be over yet. There might be a spillover into Wellington or Christchurch. So please, if you live in this area, be prepared. This is it, people. This is the end of the video. Like I mentioned, don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you won't miss any new content. And I guess I'll see you next time. Be safe, everyone.